Welcome to the Daily AI News, brought to you by the Day After AI News channel.
It's great to be back.
So let's talk about yesterday, because while half the planet was glued to the Super Bowl, screaming at the refs, analyzing the halftime show, something else was happening.
Oh, yeah.
The tech world was quietly and, in some cases, very, very loudly reshuffling the entire global economy. We are looking at numbers today that just make a pro athlete's contract look like a rounding error.
It really is a split-screen reality, isn't it? On one screen, you've got a football game for a trophy.
Right.
And on the other, you have this battle for the actual physical infrastructure of the next century.
Right.
The stakes are just so much higher than a Lombardi trophy.
Exactly. And that is the mission for this deep dive. We are following the money, specifically this staggering $320 billion infrastructure bet made by Google and Meta.
$320 billion.
We're going to unpack what looks like a genuine civil war brewing between OpenAI and Nvidia over chips. And then we're going to trace how all this is bleeding into our actual lives, from the ads we saw yesterday to government housing to, and I still can't believe this is real, a $400 smart knife for your kitchen.
It sounds like a totally random collection of things. Knives, football, server farms. But there is a clear line here.
What's the line?
We are moving from the hype phase of AI to the industrial phase. And that industrial phase is expensive, it is physical, and it is incredibly messy.
Okay, so let's start with the sticker shock. $320 billion.
Right.
That is the combined capital expenditure guidance just for Google and Meta. To put that in perspective for everyone, that is roughly the entire GDP of New Zealand.
An entire country's output.
Just on servers, data centers, and cabling.
It's a mind-boggling figure. And the critical shift here, based on the latest earnings report, is that this isn't R&D anymore. For so long, AI spend was speculative. It was, let's throw money at a wall and see what sticks. Now, they are counting it as profit. Google has this new AI Max tool for advertisers. They reported that L'Oreal saw a 23% revenue increase with it.
And that's the metric, right? It's not just cool tech, it's straight up efficiency. I saw that YouTube Shorts are now out-earning traditional video per watch hour in the US.
That's huge.
That is a massive shift in how we consume things, and it's all driven by the algorithm.
Exactly. And look at Meta. They're seeing a 3.5% lift in Facebook click-throughs. Now, 3.5% sounds tiny.
But at their scale.
At the scale of billions of users, that tiny percentage translates into billions of dollars of pure revenue. But here is the catch, and this is the insight from analyst Nate B. Jones we have to focus on. They aren't spending $320 billion just because everything's going great.
Okay.
They're spending it because we are entering a 36-month AI infrastructure crisis.
Crisis is a strong word, especially when we're seeing record profits. What's the actual bottleneck? I mean, we keep hearing about chip shortages. Haven't we been hearing that for 2 years?
We have, but the nature of the shortage has changed. The whole bottleneck is shifting from training to inference.
Okay. Define those terms for us because they feel central to the entire economy right now.
Right. Think of training like sending a student to law school. It takes a massive amount of brain power, resources, time. But you technically only do it once. You build the model.
Okay, so training is the education phase.
Right. Inference is that student actually practicing law. Every single time you ask ChatGPT a question, every time an agent generates an image, every time that YouTube algorithm picks a video for you, that is inference.
And unlike training, which is a one-time thing,
inference happens billions of times a day.
So training is the capital investment, inference is the operating cost, it's the gas in the tank.
Precisely. And the demand for inference is growing exponentially. We're talking 10x growth projections. But the physical supply of the chips, specifically the high bandwidth memory you need to run those queries instantly, it is physically constrained until at least 2028. You can't 3D print a fabrication plant overnight. These things take 3 to 4 years to build, to permit, to staff.
So the hyperscalers, the giants like Google, Meta, Microsoft, they're essentially panic buying.
They're hoarding compute. They are locking up supply chains for years in advance. It's an economic transformation where size determines your survival. If you're a startup and you don't have $100 billion to secure your silicon, you might have a better product, but you just won't have the hardware to run it.
It's like having the best race car engine in the world, but no fuel.
Exactly.
And this scarcity, it explains the tension we are seeing at the very top. We have to talk about the rift between OpenAI and Nvidia. For a couple of years, this was the partnership of the AI boom. Jensen Huang hands Sam Altman the first chip. Everyone cheers. Stock prices go up now. The reports suggest it's turning into a Cold War.
It is, and again, it comes back to that one word, inference.
Right.
OpenAI has publicly admitted, from what we're reading, that they're unsatisfied with NVIDIA's chips for inference workloads.
Why? I mean, Nvidia's the gold standard. Their stock price certainly suggests they're doing something right. Are they just too expensive?
It's not just the cost, it's the architecture.
Yeah.
NVIDIA is the gold standard for training, no question. But OpenAI is looking at the next generation of products, specifically these agentic workflows.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's where the AI doesn't just answer a question, it goes off and does, 10, 20, 50 tasks in a row. It codes an app, it debugs the app, writes the marketing copy, emails the team about it, and then deploys it.
I see. So if that AI has to wait, 500 milliseconds between each of those steps because of chip.
The product feels sluggish. It feels broken. In the tech world, latency is death. If an agent takes 3 minutes to do something a human could do in 2, nobody is going to use it.
So OpenAI started shopping around.
Yep. They started talking to competitors like Cerebra's, AMD, and a company called Grok, which specializes in these extremely fast inference chips, designed specifically for that kind of rapid-fire processing.
And I'm guessing Nvidia, being the titan they are, did not take that well.
Not at all. The reports are saying Nvidia responded by just acquiring Grok for $20 billion.
Wow. That is a massive power move. That is like your contractor buying the only lumberyard in town so you can't build your house with anyone else.
It's the beginning of the hardware wars. It's not just about who has the smartest software model anymore.
It's who controls the physical stack.
Exactly. And this highlights a really dangerous economic loop that some analysts are calling the AI Ouroboros.
The snake eating its own tail. Okay, break that down, because the money here seems incredibly circular.
It is a closed loop. You have Microsoft investing billions in OpenAI. OpenAI then uses that money to pay NVIDIA for chips. NVIDIA takes that revenue and invests it in other startups like CoreWeave.
And CoreWeave, then?
Uses that investment to buy more NVIDIA chips. It looks like massive revenue growth on the balance sheets, but a lot of it is just the same pile of money circulating inside this closed system.
That sounds risky, a little fragile.
It is a fragile ecosystem. When resources like chips get scarce, or if one of those links breaks, like, say, OpenAI decides to build their own chips and stops paying NVIDIA, that whole circular economy can unravel very, very quickly.
So while the giants are fighting over hardware, they're also frantically trying to solve this with software.
Right.
Making the models smaller, faster, so they don't need as much hardware.
Exactly.
And we got a huge leak from Meta this week about a model codenamed Avocado.
I know the names are getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
We had strawberry last year, now avocado. Yeah, the specs are serious. This is from Meta's Superintelligence Labs. The internal memo is claiming avocado is 10 times more efficient than their Llama 4 Maverick model.
Okay, 10x is a lot.
And 100 times more efficient than Llama 4 Behemoth.
100 times. If they can actually hit that, does that solve the whole infrastructure crisis we just talked about?
It certainly changes the math. I mean, if you can run a model with 1/100th of the compute power, suddenly you don't need to hoard quite as many chips. It's a race, really, between the efficiency of the code and the scarcity of the silicon.
Meanwhile, Google is taking a different approach with a tool called, and I promise I'm not making this up, Paper Banana.
I hope that's not the final product name.
It sounds like a bad band name.
It really does. But Paper Banana, which they developed with Peking University, is actually a really interesting glimpse into the future of work. It's designed to automate creating scientific diagrams, but the key is how it does it. It uses a multi-agent system.
Okay, explain multi-agent, because that seems to be the buzzword of 2026.
So think of it like a traditional office. Instead of one giant AI trying to do everything, you have a team of specialized agents. One AI is the stylist, who knows design and color theory. Another one is the critic, who checks for errors and clarity. Another is the visualizer, who actually renders the final lines.
So they collaborate like a digital art department.
Exactly. We're moving from just chat bots, where I talk to one bot, to managing these digital teams that talk to each other.
Speaking of creative work and big budgets, we have to talk about the Super Bowl. If you're watching the ads, you could not miss the AI. It felt like the industry was trying to make a big statement.
It was a mix of territory marking and PR. You had Crypto.com buying the domain name AI.com for $70 million.
$70 million for a URL.
Just to debut it during the game.
That feels like peak bubble behavior. I mean, does anyone even type URLs anymore?
It's a pivot, right? They're trying to shift from the crypto winter to the AI summer. They want to own the term.
Yeah.
But the more interesting thing was the tonal whiplash between the ads. On one hand, you had Svedka Vodka with their fembot just leaning into the weird, uncanny valley vibe of it all. It was sort of acknowledging that AI is artificial and, kind of creepy.
And then on the other hand, you had that Amazon ad with Chris Hemsworth.
Right, where Alexa basically pranks him or goes rogue.
It played on the whole Terminator fear, the AI taking control, but tried to make it funny, like, the robot just closed the garage door on Thor.
It's a risky tightrope to walk. They want to normalize AI and make it seem friendly, but they're also cashing in on the anxiety people feel about it. But then you had the direct conflict. Anthropic.
Oh, that was a direct shot at OpenAI. The ad was basically, ads are coming to AI, but not to Claude. That's the I'm a Mac and I'm a PC of this generation.
It's pure brand differentiation. Anthropic is positioning itself as the clean, privacy-focused alternative and painting ChatGPT as the corporate sellout.
And Sam Altman from OpenAI tweeted that the ad was clearly dishonest.
So the rivalry is very public now. It shows the market is maturing. They're attacking each other's business models, not just their tech.
Well, marketing spats are one thing, but let's pivot to where this hits the real world, because it's not just commercials. We're seeing AI roll out in government, and the stakes there are so much higher.
This is where the efficiency we talked about earlier meets human reality. When Google talks efficiency, it means ad revenue. When the government talks efficiency, it usually means audits. HUD is rolling out a tool called TrackLight for Section 8 housing.
And this is designed to detect fraud, right?
Correct. The source, Section 8 Consulting, says it scans income patterns and bank records to look for anomalies. On paper, it's great. It streamlines the application process, which is notoriously slow. But in practice, it aggressively flags discrepancies.
And the concern is that an algorithm doesn't get context. It just sees a data mismatch. Maybe a family member loaned you money for a car repair,
And suddenly the AI thinks you have unreported income.
and we're hearing similar things about the Department of Homeland Security.
This is the report from Immigration News Today. Yes. Reports suggest DHS is using advanced analytics to monitor the bank accounts of green card holders. Now, we need to be very precise here, because this stuff scares people.
So is there an automatic deportation button?
No. There is no confirmed program where an AI just decides to deport someone. However, the AI does flag suspicious patterns like structuring deposits to stay under reporting limits. It finds the needle in the haystack. A human still has to review it, but if the AI puts a target on your back, you're getting scrutiny you wouldn't have had 5 years ago.
It feels like the Eye of Sauron is getting a digital upgrade, analyzing everything, everywhere, your housing application, your bank account, and apparently it's even in our cutlery drawer. Can we please talk about the Seattle Ultrasonic C200?
The smart knife. I knew you were going to bring this up.
I have to. It's a $400 knife. It has a battery. It vibrates 40,000 times a second. Why do we need this? Is cutting a cucumber that hard?
The engineering logic is that the ultrasonic vibration reduces friction, so the blade just glides. You can cut through a steak or a tomato with almost zero pressure. It's an impressive tech, actually, borrowed from medical surgery tools.
But do I really need to charge my knife? Sorry, honey, dinner's late. The knife is downloading a firmware update. Or I can't chop the onions. I lost the charging cable.
It's the perfect example of technological creep. We're putting chips in objects that haven't changed in centuries. For a professional chef doing volume prep, maybe it saves their wrist. For the home cook, it's a flex. It's $400 to say you have the highest tech kitchen on the block.
It just shows how pervasive this whole supply chain is. We've got $320 billion servers, housing audits, and vibrating knives. It's a lot. And speaking of processing history, there's one final story that caught my eye about Orson Welles.
Ah, the magnificent Ambersons. This is a fascinating story about AI and art.
A startup called Fable is using AI to recreate the lost footage from this movie. The original reels were destroyed decades ago, so they're using AI to, reanimate the original actors and finish the film as well as intended.
And this just touches on a deep philosophical nerve. On one hand, it's recovering lost art. It's an act of restoration. On the other, sources quoted family members of the original cast calling it vampiric.
That is a haunting word, vampiric.
It is. You are bringing the dead back to perform scenes they never actually performed. You're putting words in their mouths with an algorithm. It just blurs the line between historical record and, content generation. If we can fix old movies with AI, do we lose the authenticity of the original work?
It seems like nothing is safe from optimization. Not our housing, not our kitchens, not even our dead movie stars. And that brings us to the trillion-dollar question to close this out. Is this a bubble? Are we walking into another dot-com crash where it all just evaporates?
The Commonwealth Bank analysis suggests there's a key difference. In 2000, in the dot-com bubble, you had companies with no revenue, no profit, going public on a promise. Pets.com had a puppet and no business model.
Right.
Today, companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, they're printing money. They're incredibly profitable. They're funding this expansion with cash, not just debt.
But what about that Ouroboros risk you mentioned, the circular financing?
That is the danger zone. If the revenue is just big tech companies paying each other in a circle to prop up valuations, eventually the music stops. If the real-world utility, the actual value added to the economy, doesn't catch up to that $320 billion spend, we could see a very, very painful correction.
So let's recap this whirlwind. We have Google and Meta betting the GDP of New Zealand on infrastructure. We have a chip war that has Nvidia blocking OpenAI to protect its dominance. We have AI auditing housing and scanning bank accounts. And we have the ghost of Orson Welles being summoned by an algorithm.
When you zoom out, the big picture is we are in this transition phase. We are moving from AI as a toy to AI as a utility. It's becoming the plumbing, the electricity. It is running the audits, the ads, the movies. It's moving into the background, which makes it less visible, but infinitely more powerful.
And that transition is expensive, it's messy, and it's happening whether we are ready or not.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with a provocative thought to consider. If the biggest companies in the world, the Googles, the Metas, the Nvidias, are hoarding all the intelligence chips for themselves to power their own products, what happens to the businesses and the people left fighting for the scraps?
Are we building a two-tier reality? One for those who have the compute power and one for those who don't?
It's the question every business leader needs to be asking. Because if intelligence becomes a utility, access to that utility determines who wins and who loses.
Something to mull over while you charge your kitchen knife tonight. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be watching the numbers and the chips closely.
Until next time.
Before you go, please subscribe to the podcast Prime. And if you enjoyed today's episode, hit like to support us. Thanks for listening and see you next time.